Okay, great. So now let's get to work. Now I want to create another function with a very similar name. I could even use the same name. We could use, let's duplicate this whole points as code, but let's change the function signature. Instead of accepting an array of points, let's accept a single point. Okay, so we're overriding the function. Now, this is a single point, so I would prefer instead of points, just point, and instead of points as code, just point as code. However, we don't have to do that, okay? We don't have to do that. Now, this is just going to be temporary. We're actually going to improve this. So let's just say, for now, I'm not even going to use the result, or it actually would be better to use the result. So let's say result is the following. So first of all, over string, over here we'll have a string, and I want a square bracket, right? Our points are square brackets, right? Let's scroll down. But it's really good that we have this reference, right? For instance, this is a point. Okay, this is a point. So we can just say, okay, it'll be this. However, let's use our code, okay? So I'm going to use string interpolation point.x and string interpolation point.y. Okay? Now we're going to want to truncate and format our string, right? We don't want it just like this. So let's just say to do improve result. The result will be correct, completely correct, but it won't look too beautiful, right? For instance, I don't really want 0.0, I just want 0. I don't want 1.0, I want 1. And I don't want a precision of 8 points, for instance, okay? Now, we're not really using the rows and columns, so we can get rid of that. And I would like to have a variable, an integer called precision, which by default will be 2. Okay, so that's the amount of points the amount of places we want after the decimal point. And currently I'm not using precision, so let's see improve result using precision. Okay, the precision variable. Okay, but this is not something urgent. Okay, now let's get to work on our code over here. Now I'm going to get rid of result actually for now. Just have an empty string and then get rid of this variable. And we can do the following. Now we could use 2 for loops, which is fine. That was my initial approach. Or we can use this approach, okay? I think it's well worth trying to implement this on your own, right? This double array of colors, or kind of this. I mean, the colors is a single array, actually. This is what Mesh Gradient accepts, and this is a 2-dimensional array of points. So it would be nice to implement this on your own. However, I will do it now, okay? So let's get back to rows. So let's go 0 from 0 all the way up to the number of rows. I will apply a map. Let's make a little bit more room. .map. We can actually close the preview. .map I in. And now let row points equals to 0 all the way up to the number of columns, and also apply a map here. So j in. So now we have the I and j values like a matrix. And let's use points as code. or point. I want to use the function we just defined, points as code, point as code. The name is indeed a little confusing. So point, and I'm not going to add the precision. And now we need to pass a point based on I and j. Now, the points input is going to be an array. We could change that, but like I'm not using a two-dimensional array. Maybe a two-dimensional array would be simpler. I am curious how we define this. Yeah, we just defined it as an array of points because again, the mesh gradient accepts an array of points. It would have been nicer if it would accept a two-dimensional array of points. Okay, so here we have to just be careful with the indices. So j plus I times columns, one has to convince oneself this is correct. And it's also worth noting that we want to test this also if the rows and columns are not equal. If they're equal, there's a good chance it's correct. If they're unequal, then we might have an issue. Okay, now return the following. So I want to apply two tabs, so it's like a double indentation. And you know, it was some work to figure this out, right? I mean, we can look at our model over here, right? It looks like we're double indented in compared to the text mesh gradient, so it does make sense. So I'm adding double indentation plus, so row points dot joined. Finally, we want to return a square bracket with a new line, followed by combining the rows, so rows joined using a separator of \n plus a trailing bracket. However, we'll want a new line, two tabs, and parentheses, perhaps one tab. As far as the result, it doesn't really matter, right? We can always tweak things. Now notice that I'm having an issue because my parentheses don't match. Okay, so this happens, a little bit unfortunate, but it happens. So this matches the function, right? This matches that. Okay. So that looks better. And I think we can drop this parentheses. So I had a mismatch with the parentheses. I'm going to select all and press Control I to fix indentation. Oh, I'm going to undo that because it also indented my comment. Right, so let's do that again. I'm going to select everything but not our model comment. Press Control I. Okay, great. So things are improving. Finally, I have a very embarrassing spelling mistake right here. So separator with an A. And notice that I was having issues with autocomplete because I missed the braces. So things were just not working because I missed the braces. Okay, so now we can get rid of this to do implement points as code. Same goes for colors as code, which I'll implement now. And I'm going to do it a little bit quicker because it is almost identical. In a sense, I could just copy this. Let's start by copying everything in the previous code block. However, we want to do something else. So this will be identical. This similar, but I don't want points as code. So I'm going to need this point over here. This point. So let's get rid of points as code and present an alternative. So first of all, instead of row points, let's call this row colors. So I can refactor, rename, and call this row colors. Okay, and we still have our points. So J in, so let's say backslash, parentheses, our not points, but colors. So colors. Now we're only using color names without the point beforehand, so I'll add a point right here. And I also want a trailing comma. I want a trailing comma over here, together with a space. And yeah, that looks almost good. Cannot find colors in scope because colors as code has the word points, which is a little bit odd. Let's try to refactor and rename this. So instead of points, colors. That's the danger of copying and pasting. Okay, and this also made me realize that I don't remember using a comma anywhere for the points as code. Now, once we generate our codes, the truth will come to light. We're going to discover the errors. Okay, so really, for our points over here, we can just add a comma followed by a space. Okay, right here. Now let's see what the preview looks like at the moment, just to see if things are improving. Oh, and we see loads of points. Here we see sim2d, so that doesn't look good at all. So we're going to have to take care of that. But things are improved. So we have an issue with our colors. Our points look okay. And the ultimate test will be to drag and drop this into Xcode and see if it creates a mesh gradient. Okay? Great. Now notice here we have sim2d float, and that is incorrect. We need strings. So string. Okay? Now this will cause an issue. So let's see, where's the issue? You see we passed points to colors. Okay? So colors as code, and cannot find colors in scope. So I called it color array. Okay, so we'll call it color array. We could always rename it. That's okay. Wow. And look at the code. Look at the code. It's amazing. It's amazing. Okay, maybe we need more tabs, but I think this is already great. So what I suggest we do now, before we leave, let's go to sample mesh views. We have this wind view, and we have a mesh gradient here. I'm actually, let's delete it. Let's delete this mesh gradient. Okay, and now let's split the screen. And I want our code view on one side. So we need to pacify the compiler. So I'll just enter text with an empty string in the wind view. And in the wind view, I'm going to press Command Option Enter to hide the preview. So now the moment of truth. Can we drag these points into here, into the wind view? And it will create something that compiles? Maybe yes, maybe no. For instance, if we miss the commas, the answer is no. Now it looks like things are okay. Let's see what it looks like in the preview. So if we open up the preview, we get an amazing mesh gradient. Okay, really beautiful. And these are the values that we had, right? If I replace one of these greens with another color, say purple for instance, we'll see the effect in the preview. Or if we change up these numbers, instead of 0.0 in the second coordinate, say 0.5, then it'll kind of bend downwards, right? Now our background color is clear. If we had a background color, say red, it would fill that in. Okay, I could undo that. Undo that. Okay, so we have a really nice result. Okay, great. So it is impressive to see something happening. I'm going to jump back to the code view and let's take a break. And next time I hope we'll be able to complete the code view. I want us to be able to put this code within a struct and use the Boolean value to let the user choose whether only to present the mesh gradient or to present a file with import SwiftUI, a preview, ignore safe area, etc. Great. So have an amazing day and see you next time.